This is class 3 of the webinar series for the New Paradigm Astrology number 101 Basics. And thank you for coming. We're going to jump right in. Yeah, we've done very good. We've done Pisces. We are taking the archetypes all the way around. We've done Pisces through Libra. That leaves us Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn, and Aquarius that we're going to be covering today. And let's just go for it. I mean, we're looking at these archetypes. We're looking at, what are these archetypes? The signs. I mentioned it at the beginning. The planets are the function or the light. The signs is how those planets or functions are working. And the houses is the stage where it's all going down. So these archetypes, 12 mystery schools, 12 different angles or aspects to looking at anything that is happening inside, outside, here or there. So when each mystery school, each archetype has its own gem, its own jewel, its own way of integrating. So we're looking at our charts. Hopefully we're looking at the charts of other people, and you have a bunch of charts spread out. This is not sun sign astrology. When we're going through these archetypes, we talked about the moon, which we'll talk more about, is your past, where you're coming from, and you know it. So you've got the moon in Scorpio, you're coming from Scorpio. You have a PhD in Scorpio, you know Scorpio. You can just start teaching Scorpio when you're about 2 or 3. Initially, you'll start teaching your parents, the little Scorpio moons, okay? If you are a Scorpio rising, you are learning, you are in the school of Scorpio, you're moving towards Scorpio. You want to hang around people who have the moon in Scorpio because they are your teachers. Yeah? Okay. If you have the sun in Scorpio, okay, the sun is your individual creative self. So this says what you bring. You are bringing this, and you need to create it in the world. You want to leave Scorpio behind. When you die, you have done something scorpionic. Okay? You have transformed or changed the world through that archetype, through that method, through that energy. Okay? So you are here as a representative. It's different than the moon in that you need to create it, and it's also you need to be radiating out. Think of the sun. The moon is receptive. It reflects the light of the sun. I've already got this. It's my inner reality. It's it's how I feel. It's what I've got down. But the sun is, I need to bring this. I need to show this. I need to be this out in the world. So it's the yin and the yang. It's the creative element that is the sun. And we're going to go through the other planets. Of course, Mercury, let's look at Mercury in Scorpio. Mercury is how my left brain thinks. So I think through my water. Scorpio is fixed water. Yeah. So this is my, I'm a deep thinker. I have a lot of, investigative tendencies and a lot going on in my mind. We'll talk about Scorpio. Venus in Scorpio is my feminine goddess self. Powerful, deep, rich, full of passion. Mars in Scorpio is the masculine god. And he is going to want to put forth and move strongly into new situations, relationships, power issues, power struggles. working with power. And we're going to go through the other planets, but those are the personal planets, okay? Moon through Mars are called personal planets. These, this is what you are about. So let's go forward and just look at that, okay? So you have all these charts in front of you, and you're now looking at, okay, I've got Scorpio here, and they've got Mercury in Scorpio, so-and-so's got Scorpio rising. Okay, just start looking it up, lining it up. Another thing that you can be looking at when I'm talking about these archetypes is what house does Scorpio rule? Because everyone has Scorpio somewhere. You may not have any planets in Scorpio. Scorpio rules the 8th house. You may have planets in the 8th house. You want to be looking at those planets that, and anybody else's planets that have planets in the 8th house of Scorpio. That's going to have like a Scorpio overtone. Then you want to go around that circle and see, well, what house does Scorpio rule for me? Because the events of that house are going to have this Scorpio flavor. And that is where Scorpio is going to show up in your life when we get to the houses. Last but not least, Scorpio is ruled by the planet Pluto. Before Pluto was discovered, it was ruled by the planet Mars. So Mars and Pluto, and you also want to look then at planets that are aspecting Mars or Pluto. You want to look at what sign, what house your Pluto is in, and you'll have some, again, of this Scorpio flavor. But we'll get into these more and more and more as time goes on. So we finished up with we finished up with Libra last time, and we want to see how that Libra relationship, cardinal air, talking, discovering each other, communicating, evolves and grows and ripens and transforms into Scorpio. So our relationships deepen. And let's, I have to go back a little bit because basically we can look at the triplicities. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. Fire, earth, air, water. Okay? That is like the unconscious seed, grown, and then it ends with Cancer in the womb into a child, into a person. That person emerges in Leo, and Leo is the individual self. It goes through Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. And Scorpio is the second water sign. It's the death and the end of the individual self. And then the transpersonal universal self is born in Sagittarius, goes through Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and dies ultimately. All things end and begin in Pisces to come back to Aries. So we've got Aries through Cancer, Leo through Scorpio, and Sag through Pisces. Okay? The unconscious self, the individuated personal self, and the transpersonal self. Okay, so we're coming into Scorpio, the end of self, and the end of the personal. So it is the sign of death, of destruction, of ego annihilation, of dealing with forces beyond our control. And most of these are through what? Relationship and partnership. We cannot control our partner. We cannot control our partner's money. We cannot control inheritance, taxes, insurance, nature, death. So many aspects outside ourselves that we cannot control and that are very powerful. So Scorpio has to do with power, and primarily it has to do with evolution. Evolution and transformation through relationship. Transformation through osmosis. Transformation through forming some kind of a relationship with these forces beyond our control, because they know something, they've got something, they have some kind of power that we want. And we may be afraid of it at first, but we want to master it. We want to grow through it. We want to evolve through it. You're taking this course right now because you want to learn astrology. So through Scorpio, what you relate to, you start relating to astrology, you start osmosing, you start learning astrology, you take astrology in. Astrology is a force beyond your control. It's just showing you the way that the universe works and evolves on all different levels. So, but through that relationship, through your relationship to astrology, you are evolving, you are growing, you are perceiving and understanding new connections, new things that, are related to each other, new ways of perceiving what happens to you, what happens to other people. You can use it for therapy, you can use it for counseling, you can use it for self-understanding, understanding your biography. So you're evolving through astrology because you related to astrology. And primarily, we do this also with other people. I am attracted to someone who, unconscious or conscious. Sometimes it's conscious. I want to marry somebody who's rich because I want to be rich and taken care of. I don't have to worry about money anymore. And other times, it's unconscious. Okay? There's just this pull. There's a magnetic attraction to this person who's tall, dark, and handsome, or whatever, And there's this magnetic attraction because on some level, subconscious or unconscious, the soul knows that this person is going to change my reality. This person is going to change my life. I'm going to learn something through this. I'm going to grow through this relationship, through this partnership. Whether it's good or bad, whether this person is abusive, I may learn how to defend myself from an abusive situation or relationship. Okay, as well as I may also benefit, okay, from the wisdom or the teachings or just the point of view or the outlook on life that this person has. Yeah. So this is osmosis. This is learning, evolving, and growing through partnership and relationship. So Scorpio also then has to do with, when we talk about it, power. Let's look at power. Let's look at, the predator and the prey. The predator helps the prey evolve new ways of defending itself, new ways of running, new ways of flying, new ways of hiding, new ways of protecting itself. So there is this aspect to Scorpio, the 8th house, and Pluto that pushes us to the place of powerlessness. Like Jeffrey Green says, there is power in what I know and can control. And there's powerlessness in what I don't know and I can't control. Scorpio is the realm, the archetype, the playground where we confront and we see where we have our power, where we are strong. It's the sign of managers, okay? It's the sign of those who are in control and in mastery, and they see their power and they use their power. This is where, we get what we want, we do what we want, we are masters of our reality. And there's the powerlessness. Oh my God. This person has a grip on me. I can't get away. Think of abusive relationships that go on over years. Yes, there's just something about, I've got to go back. I know that there's, something better or something more or something I haven't gotten from this, or I haven't learned something yet, or, he's got this magnetic polar attraction on me. Or she just has a way, she's like Spider-Woman. She's got me woven in her web. And as tough as it is, as hard as it is, I have to go back for more. So Scorpio, Scorpio deals with these, like I say, it's magnetism. This is the soulmate. This is the twin flame. This is the one. You get into these relationships where, that are scorpionic in nature, okay? And there is this desire to merge souls, to become one. And in that process, you transform, you evolve, you change, and in some ways, you die to your old self. You die to your personal self. Because we know that, 2 is more than 1 plus 1. You put 2 people together, and they can do so much more than either one of them could both accomplish individually if you added it together. So these are the dynamics of Scorpio, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health. Yeah, till death do you part. This is this union. It is fixed water. And that fixed water is the well that goes very deep down into, let's look now a little bit at Pluto. I'm going to talk about Pluto as a planet, but Pluto, Scorpio, the 8th house, this is the archetype of death and the archetype of evolution through relationship. And when we look at that, then, it is also the endings of situations. How do I put this? It's a fixed water sign. Water, we talked about, is the spiritual, emotional, bonding, connecting, the ocean of oneness. So it's very deep, and it's very unconscious. And these Scorpio relationships are very powerfully deep and unconscious. And through that depth and through that unconscious, they trigger the shadow. They trigger what has been buried. They bring to the surface the unconscious. So it is volcanic. And it is very, very powerful. So it is like the pressure cooker. That pressure, it's a fixed sign. And through this constant fixed pressure and emotional power, we get squeezed and we lose our temper, or we lose our anger, or we lose our sanity, and we expose aspects of ourselves, aspects of our souls, aspects of who we are that we were not even aware of ourselves. So this is this process then of being triggered from the outside. I am you and you are me, and there's this mirror. These relationships are these mirrors of our deepest, deepest, deepest unconscious self. So it's not always pleasant. It's not always easy. If we look at the polarity, Taurus is the Garden of Eden. It's ruled by Venus. Okay? And it's I, me, mine. It's all my good stuff. I'm the king of the castle. We talked about it. I've got my treasure. I've got everything all together. And Scorpio, okay, Scorpio is Robin Hood, the dragon. Okay, it's the beast. If we look at this as the Garden of Eden, Scorpio is hell. It's the underworld. It's purgatory. It's where we don't have power, where we experience helplessness. Powerlessness and helplessness in the face of someone or something that we cannot manage, that we don't understand, that we can't figure out, and we cannot control. And it is scary. It brings up fear, paranoia, psychosis, neurotic behavior. Yeah? So it brings us to our knees, it brings us down, and it humbles us. It's where we realize our faults, where we are short, where we are lacking, where we don't measure up, where we're not good enough. The opposite of Taurus, my self-worth and my all my values and my money and my resources and my talent. And Scorpio is, you ain't got nothing compared to this. It's the monster. Now, let's look at it, because this humility and this human aspect of ourselves brings us into metamorphosis to grow into something bigger and something greater than we had been before. So we have this unconscious stuff emerging up in our relationships and in our partnerships, and they can create. And this is the situation that I would say it has to do with subtraction. It takes away. Scorpio takes away. Pluto, the 8th house, are these situations of loss, of abandonment. So we emotionally attach to something that is going to help us evolve, that we're learning something from, that we're gaining something from. And then let's face it, you learned it, you got it, you graduated. However, and this is particularly the moon in Scorpio, there's an emotional attachment that has been formed in that relationship. And this is where there's a point where there's an easy exit. There's a point where you've graduated. Thank you very much. Go on. See you later. Go out into the world. You don't need me anymore. It's a very wonderful, let's celebrate that this is over, that I've given you everything I can give you. You've learned everything that my school has to teach you. You graduate, goodbye. But just remember when you graduated from, grade school, high school, college, there's tears. Oh, I miss you, I'm going to miss you, and I love you so much. And, I was the king of the castle. I knew the whole school. I was in 8th grade, well, on the top of the heap. There's this position of power and mastery and control. We're the frickin' 8th graders, man. We run the playground. We run the school. You guys are all little punks. Blah, 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 yeah? We get attached, okay, to these positions, to these relationships, to these stations in life. And that's when you get the nasty side of Scorpio, Pluto, and the 8th house. Transiting planets through the 8th house, progressing planets, Pluto coming around through transit. Now we've got transiting Mars in Scorpio. Saturn is moving into Scorpio. The north node of the moon just went into Scorpio. These next 2.5 years are going to be very scorpionic. And what that is guess what? Humanity has graduated. Okay? Goodbye. Goodbye to this school. Goodbye to this relationship. Goodbye to this job. Goodbye to this identity. It can be smooth and harmonious, or else. Then it becomes sticky, where we try to hold on to. That scorpion has little clampers, little claws, and we can try to hold on to our power, to our money, to our, to our orgasm, our self. We'll talk about the sexual side of it, I guess, And then life, in the form of anything or anyone or any disaster, comes along and takes it away. And we feel betrayed. You betrayed me. There's triangles. There's love affairs. You fell in love with somebody else. You left me. You abandoned me. You dropped me. I got fired from my job. I got kicked out of my apartment. I blah, 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 blah. Stuff, things go away. What we want to do is maintain this aspect that we are consciously or unconsciously creating these evolutionary conditions, and that if something goes away, it is the best thing for us. And it doesn't look that way, and it can be painful, and there is suffering involved. And I encourage you, I'm just reading this book now, and it says, I stopped reading for a long time because I just wanted it to be my intuition, and I didn't want to confuse my intuition with something that I had read. So I stopped reading for a long time. So now, like, when I pick up a book, it's like, oh, I'm reading a book. Wow. Anyway, I can actually learn something through books also. But anyway, yeah, I'm reading this book now on family constellation work, and it's about, the guy says, the source of all of our problems is the avoidance of pain. If we come to accept pain, and we come to accept that, yeah, okay, I'm connected to that, and maybe there's a bigger force in the universe. This is the humbling to spirit, not just humbling to another person and their judgments or their criticism, but the humbling to spirit, to creator, to source, to, I like the word life. Humble ourselves to life. Things come and things go. There is an infinite wisdom to life. And it can be painful. Life can be cruel. But if we try to hold on, if we try to avoid it, if we don't let go, if we dam up the river, I'm holding on to that water, I'm thirsty. Eventually, the dam is going to break. So whenever there is resistance to change, resistance to evolution, it causes pain. It causes sorrow. It causes trauma. So the source of pain, suffering, and trauma is the resistance to evolution and change. And this is the playground of Scorpio. So it is where we can have, like I say, this greatest orgasm. What is orgasm? Look at it. We meet on the deepest, most personal, most powerful chakras and levels, and hopefully it's all 7 chakras, and you're gazing in their eyes, and you're connected at the heart, and you're connected on every chakra, and wow! So you have the orgasm, the highest, the most beautiful, amazing experience that you can have in a physical body. And that same relationship, that same person can bring you down to the lowest, most angry, suffering, painful, pissed off, helpless condition of anxiety that you can ever experience. This is the intensity. And the intensity is the pressure cooker. It's the hammer of the blacksmith. So Scorpio is pounding us and beating us into shape. That's evolution. um, so, the sexual aspect of Scorpio, yeah. Um, let's also look at it. When you exchange sexual fluids with someone, you are exchanging karma. You are absorbing their karma and you are giving them yours on very deep levels. So you know someone deeper. That's where it changes from friend to partner. Yeah. You remember and know the people that you had orgasm and exchanged fluids with. You'll forget a lot of the other acquaintances and friends that you meet, but you will remember. Well, I mean, I guess I know some people that don't remember all of them, but, well, you don't need to deal with those people. On some level, you got them, whether you remember them or not. Let's look at it that way. Yeah. So, okay, so, I mean, and let's also then look at orgasm as a surrender. And I've talked about it before. I'm sure if you watch the Pay Later Report, Scorpio is this vulnerability where you get naked. For intimacy requires vulnerability and nakedness, being seen and showing yourself. So the deeper you want to transform, the deeper you evolve, the more you show and expose, the more fearful you are of losing. Scorpio is also paranoia. It's the, all right, I don't want to lose you. I'm going to keep this secret. I'm going to hold on to this, this technique in bed or whatever. I'm not going to give you everything. I'm not going to be vulnerable. Well, that creates these walls of intimacy, and it halts the evolution. Yeah, so you only change as much as you're willing to. It's like gambling. You're only going to win as much as you bet. And Scorpio is this ground, okay, where the more you put out, the more you expose, the less secrets you keep, the more intimate you become, the more you know that other person, the more you merge, the deeper you unite, and you evolve through that partnership and that relationship. If you're afraid and you're withholding, then it comes into manipulation and exploitation and coercion, and you are using the other person. So Scorpio is also this place of the low down, dirty, rotten mafia, drug dealing, gun toting. I want your money. I want your power. I want your boyfriend, your girlfriend. I'm going to force it. I'm going to push it. I'm a robber. I'm a burglar. I'm going to just break into your house and steal from you. Because I'm just, I want what you got, and I'm not going to be vulnerable, intimate. I'm not going to share. I'm not going to give. I'm not going to expose. I'm not going to risk anything. I'm a taker. So obviously, you got something to learn if you are getting taken. Maybe you need to learn how to lock your door. Maybe you need to learn when to or discrimination. Maybe you missed something in Virgo and you got into Libra and it moves into Scorpio. Oops, forgot the discrimination. Hanging out with the wrong character here. And I gave, I exposed too much and was manipulated, used, taken advantage of. Yeah. So this Scorpio is then the playground, the learning, where we're not always playing, but it gets very deep, it gets very heavy. The deepest issues arise from the unconscious. They are swept away. The personal, is brought down into the death, the crucifixion, and the resurrection. Scorpio is both the scorpion and the eagle. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. So where it falls in your chart, where you have planets in Scorpio, is where you can, like I say, you can experience your lowest lows, but you are also, let's put Sun in Scorpio. You are a shaman. You are a transformer. You are here as a therapist. You are here to change people's lives. That's your Sun. That is your creative expression of your soul, is to change, help everyone evolve. And it may be through exposing their weaknesses, exposing what they need to let go of. Sometimes being an agent of Shiva, an agent of Kali, is not a fun practice. Let's say you're Scorpio rising. You are learning how to merge on the deepest, deepest, deepest levels. And that may involve loss. That may involve abandonment. That may involve, humbling yourself, exposing yourself, getting on your knees and asking. And it may also involve stepping into a position of mastery, owning your mastery, owning what you know and what you have, and being then that agent of, learning how to morph. We can call Scorpio the morph, time to morph. Yeah. Speaking of morphing, then, Scorpio morphs into Sagittarius. Mutable fire, ruled by the planet Jupiter, having to do with the ninth house, ruling the ninth house. Scorpio brings us to our knees. It challenges us. It creates a situation where we say, why, why, why? We investigate, we dig down deep, we expose, we lift up the carpet and see what's been swept underneath there, okay? And we emerge out of that underworld and we are resurrected into Sagittarius, baby. Fire. It rises up and out and away. It's the wise one. It's the King Solomon. I have made it through Scorpio. I have walked through the valley of death, and I have not died. I've gone through the gauntlet. I know my shit. So Sagittarius is the search for the Holy Grail, the meaning of life, the vision quester, the philosopher, the guru, the teacher, the wise one. And that fire, remember now, Scorpio is kind of like this death of that Leo, Virgo, Libra, I, me, my personal stuff, it's about me, blah, blah. And Sagittarius moves into truth. This is the truth. It's not my personal stuff, but, okay, let's look at it. If you got the moon in Sag, it is personal. You're really connected to your philosophies. You're really connected to your truths. You were the guru. You were the teacher. And you've got some emotional connections to being right. Yeah? You're a Sagittarius rising. You're learning how to teach. You're learning how to stand in your truth. You're learning about honesty. So Sagittarius, this is all about, how do we know the truth? How do we know it's honest? Again, we live in a world of polarity. And Gemini is the opposite of Sag. Okay? And it's the twins. It's the back and forth. It's, subjective truth, subjective reality. It's what's just going on right here now. Sagittarius is the long term, the long run. What we can say is that time is the ultimate test of truth. If it is true, it will last through time. That's why astrology is the oldest science art on planet Earth. I had somebody comment on one of my YouTubes the other day. What was it? These signs are fake or something. You nerds. That's great. Anyway, so truth. And what else is truth? We're looking at Sagittarius here. Sagittarius is natural law, nature. Study the cycles of nature, the seasons of the year, what the animals do, how the plants grow. All the cycles from the seed to maturing, to the sprouting, to the blossoming, to the dropping of the seeds. Just look at it. Scorpio is the dropping of the seeds and the death process. And those seeds die in the earth. That's the Scorpio. And then they bust open and they become, so Sagittarius is this look at nature, study natural law. So your Sagittarian energy needs to be outdoors, out in nature, free spirits. So Sagittarius is about exploration, expansion, out in nature, all of nature. Constantly expanding. It's, taking the blinders off and seeing more and more and more. And so it is having to do with the right brain. Non-logical, non-linear, non-rational, intuitive, knowing, perceiving, trusting my intuition. I know what I know without knowing how I know it. I just know. You are full of shit. No, I mean, true. It is true that, Sagittarius, they can spot a liar. That it's just like, whoa, wait a minute, cut it out. They'll call you on it, okay? And they can also be the greatest bullshitters. Particularly through what? Exaggeration. Yes? Sagittarius is making things, it's expansion, it's opening, it's seeing, this whole big picture, and it's, coming out of Scorpio, it's like, whoa, you wouldn't believe it. The battlefield was full of bombs and grenades and everything exploding and people dying and all this and that and the other thing. Well, I got this cut on my arm here. You come through Scorpio. I've come through hell, Well, yeah, okay. And there's, so sometimes things can, I remember anthroposophy with, Rudolf Steiner and Waldorf education. If the kids had trouble lying, if you have kids that lie at an early age, maybe they've got some Sag going on now. I got to take it easy. I have Saturn in Sagittarius, so I'm very watchful. But the main thing with that was the remedy. One of the remedies for children who lie would be to have them sit with their arms crossed and their legs crossed. It's like close in, right? It's like find your limit, find your boundary. You're not all, lies and exaggeration come from mixing up, dreams and reality, and not seeing the boundaries or the limits between them. Yeah, so Sagittarius is square Pisces. Okay, we haven't looked so much at the crosses. I've been looking at polarities a little bit. But look at the whole mutable cross, opposite Gemini, but then it's also got this square to Pisces and Virgo. So the crosses, that's a whole study in itself that I'm not going to get into right now. But just in dealing with this archetype of Sagittarius, this expansion is about opening up the intuition, allowing yourself to feel comfortable with faith. I believe. Just watch the movie The Secret. It's the power, positive thinking. Okay? That can also be exaggerated. I don't know if you know my take on The Secret. The law of attraction is a wonderful law, and it works very good alongside about 1,000 other natural laws. Okay? So, if you make your poster and you put all your pictures and all your positive thinking and all of your affirmations and all of your intentions, okay, and you don't get your mansion and you don't get your, $1 million like you had on your poster, you may think you got to watch the movie again. I don't think so. I think you need to look at some deeper levels of unconscious karma going on. There's just a little more. Okay, guess what follows Sagittarius? Capricorn, Saturn, and karma. Okay, so Sagittarius is this: I'm stepping out, I am believing, I am opening, I am seeking, I am searching, I am studying. It's university, okay? It's higher education. It's the higher mind. Gemini is the lower mind. But it is still the mind. And the mind is still the tool of the ego. And the ego is still less than 10% of the mass of your brain is conscious ego. So the ego is still a small fraction of your totality, of your total being. So Sagittarius can sometimes get confused that their intuition and that what they know is the truth, the way, the light. This is where we get into doctrines, where we get into dogmas, where we get into brainwashing, where we get into religions that make people suffer, go to hell, are full of shame, guilt, false judgments, weird judgments, judgments based on bullshit. So the downside of Sagittarius, okay, is convince, convert, or condemn, the 3 C's. Jeffrey Green talks about it again. It's just about this whole situation where the more people that believe what I believe, the more true it is. This is particularly Moon in Sagittarius. I become emotionally attached to my beliefs, and I want you to believe what I believe, and we believe it, and we believe it, and we're going to be missionaries, and we're going to spread our religion all through the world, and everybody's going to believe the same thing, and that's going to, that's the way it is. And Buddha is it. Christ is it. Mohammed is it. Whoever is it. What are there? 1,000 names of God. Okay. Anyway, yeah. When people don't agree, when people have a different take, a different intuition, a different belief system, then we react, and we can condemn them, we can judge them, we can exile them, we can hurt them. We are threatened by those who threaten, or challenge our beliefs. Yeah. So that's the downside. The upside, another aspect of Sagittarius that we want to look at is it's a very powerful sign. We have Aries, impulse, spontaneous, kind of unconscious. Then we have Leo, stepping into myself and my power and my creative potential. But Sagittarius is extremely powerful. It's the third fire sign. Okay? So it is about freedom and my way or the highway. I am doing this. I believe this. I know this. I'm going for this. It's one of the hardest signs to ever get a contract out of, to try to get a commitment, to try to put them in a corral or hold them down. They fear captivity. It's the wild stallion. It's the wild mare roaming the woods and the countryside and the hills and the vales. Yeah? So, it is nature. It's out there. It's the country. It's free and wild to explore and to expand. And that is the natural way. If you are a Sagittarius rising, you're learning about freedom. You're learning how to free yourself. You're learning how to open up. You're learning how to travel. Foreign lands, foreign journeys, foreign people, foreign languages, foreign ideas, foreign belief systems. It's the anthropologist. Sagittarius is the melding pot of all the religions, of all the beliefs, of all the cultures, of all the different ways of looking at things, and distilling it down into what is the human experience. What do they all have in common? What do we all have? What do we all need? What do we all want? Where are we all going? Yeah. So the Sagittarius, is about, and let's look at the axis now. Sagittarius, Gemini. I talked about Gemini is the city, Sagittarius is the country. Gemini is right here at the tip of your nose, right in front of your face. I'm typing, I'm reading, I'm doing this right here, da 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 da. Sagittarius is, well, let's look at that. I mean, even when I say reading, what's Gemini reading? They're reading the newspaper, they're reading the magazine, they're reading about what's going on in their city, in their neighborhood, in their country, in their political system, da 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 da. Sagittarius is reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Okay, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Sagittarius is reading, about Buddha, and then they're reading about Star Trek and science fiction. They're not, Sagittarius is history, going far, 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 far back, and then the future going far, 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 far forward. Gemini is right here and now. Come on. Well, all that doesn't, that doesn't apply. We have a board meeting, in 15 minutes. I don't care what the Tibetan Book of the Dead says. So Sagittarius is, this. Let's go the next step. Let's go the next mile. Let's expand our consciousness out beyond Gemini, beyond the here and now. So this is the country. This is the foreign lands, foreign languages, foreign ideas, foreign things that then, work out. So we want to balance between Sagittarius and Gemini. Sag can just be out there. I do my yoga. I read my books. I'm a hermit out in the middle of the boonies. I don't listen to any radio. I don't get on the internet. I don't know what's going on. I don't care what's going on. Da, da, da. That would be an extreme Sagittarian experience. And, the Gemini, I am just totally caught up in my iPod and my iPad, and if I don't, answer this phone message or text them or tell you that I got all my business going on, and da, 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 that is, so, obviously there is the balance between those two. They complement each other. Gemini is the lower mind and the higher mind. Well, we've got both. We got the left brain and the right brain. We want to hook them together, hook them up, so that they are working in union with each other, and then, then we're cruising. So it's all happening. Yeah? Neptune and Sag, way out there, Jill does. And Neptune was in Sag for 14 years. Yeah. So, you bet. There's a lot of people that are way out there. South Node in Sag, I haven't been reading any of the chats. Mars and Sag in the 4th house. Likes to travel, gets out, and gets all over the freaking place. Okay, so now, as well as, okay, look, Sag in the 4th house. You're home, and maybe there was some religious upbringing. Maybe there was some, lots of judgments or belief systems, discussed at the dinner table, things like that. Maybe foreign lands, foreign people, entertained in the home. So there, the childhood, Sag in the 4th house. 4th house is, well, I'm not going to, we'll get into this stuff later. We're going to move on from Sagittarius and get into Capricorn. Because, again, the wheel keeps turning. The wheel keeps spinning. These natural laws, the philosophers, okay, the wise ones in the old days, the astrologers, would then advise the king, the elder. The natural laws would be transformed into man-made laws, man-made religions, institutions, governments, universities, places of taking all that Sagittarius and all that truth, interpreting it as best as we humanly can, and we know it's been done differently in India, then, Greece, and then the Roman Empire, and then the England Empire, and then the United States Empire. Coming up around the corner is the China Empire. It travels west. So, the power keeps shifting. Okay, so anyway, we move into governments, we move into laws. And this is cardinal Earth. I am going to initiate Brahma, cardinal, physical, laws, rules, limitations, structure, form. I'm going to build bridges. Sagittarius, I'd like a Golden Gate Bridge. I want to join together San Francisco and Marin. I have this vision, and I just see people, and I have this idea, and blah, blah, blah. And Capricorn, says, all right, we're going to get the money, we're going to get the people, we're going to get the, the architects, we're going to build the Golden Gate Bridge, So, Capricorn is mobilization of earthly, worldly sources, forces, objects into order and structure to support a sense of security, a sense of safety. We have the axis of Capricorn. Cancer is the security axis. We talked about Cancer as emotional security. Capricorn is earthly, physical, financial security. I am going to form it. I'm going to structure it. But it's not only I. Remember, we got past the I. Virgo is about I'm going to form it, I'm going to structure it, I'm the sculptor, I'm the accountant, I'm the medicine man, I'm the doctor, I'm going to fix it, I'm the mechanic. Capricorn has more to do with the laws of karma, with the laws of gravity, with the laws that, we are not necessarily in control of. You're not going to control the government. You're not going to control the church. You're not going to control the banking system. You're not going to control the economy. There are these institutions. They are man-made, but they are there. They exist. And they bind us. They bound us. They limit us. So this Capricorn deals with authority, external authority that's got us under the thumb. And, it's not easy for Sagittarius to deal with, for Sag to move into Capricorn, unless what? Well, it's the perfect thing of a judge. I represent the system. I represent the establishment. I enforce the laws. Okay, so there are ways that, yes, this does, this does meld in there. But let's just look at, if you have a lot of planets in Capricorn, oh man, this is such a deep archetype. There's so many things, so many aspects to these archetypes. I have to remember as many as I can. There's so much to talk about here, because it also does then have to do with duty, responsibility. Lots of planets in Capricorn, lots of planets in the 10th house. Moon in Capricorn, you were the boss, the CEO of the corporation. You were the authority. You know how to manage things. You know how to control things. You know how to handle responsibility. You know how to do your duty. And your past lives were filled with a bunch of responsibility and duty. So what happened? Well, Cancer. Sorry, my little child, my little baby, my personal family, my wife and kids suffered because I was always at work. I was always out in the public eye. I was a judge, and the system, just called me up. And I could never get away from work. When I came home from work, I was still thinking about the guy that I sent to the gallows, and I wasn't really there for, my family, my wife, my personal stuff. So it has to do with, when we come into places of duty and responsibility, we come into places of judgment where we have to judge and evaluate what has to wait, what comes now, what comes later. It's Chronos, Saturn, Father Time. It's priorities. So, it is what comes first and what comes second. And I am going to suppress. I'm going to control. I'm going to withhold my little emotions and my personal stuff and my feelings and my needs and my tears and my little baby inside in order to be strong and do my duty and my responsibility to God and my country. Hopefully, well, whatever. That's one. That's only one manifestation. It doesn't have to be God or your country, but you have a duty and a responsibility to blah 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 blah. Whoever and whatever you think you do, and whether that's on target or not, Saturn will help you discover. Saturn will help you find out. Saturn is the great teacher. How does he teach? Through obstacles and limitation. But we'll get into Saturn later. I want to stay with the archetype of Capricorn and how it manifests, and this 10th house. So the positive side of Capricorn, 10th house, and Saturn is integrity. Integrity. Taking the truth that we have learned in Sagittarius and standing for it. And maturing, becoming objective, growing up. Time, Saturn, again, has to do with the maturation process. This is not about me. This is about a job that has to be done. I am representing a higher law, a higher order. So it's good to be tapping into and exploring, and hopefully you're not too confused about what that is. It's interesting. What was it? I think it was Richard Nixon was getting impeached when Saturn was going through his 10th house. Yeah. So, we're also, like I said, time is the test of truth. Well, when Saturn comes around, which it does every 28, 29 years, okay, we get a reminder, we get a kick in the pants, okay? Are you on target? Are you in your truth? Are you in your integrity? Or are you being fake and false? Because that's the downside of Capricorn, is the persona. I'm going to wear this mask, yeah? I'm going to go to the office, and I'm going to smile, even though my wife just left me, my dog just died, and my truck is broken. Obviously, I don't listen to country music. But anyway, yeah. So the downside of Capricorn is being fake, being out of integrity, wearing a mask, doing a persona, and just being this false person, pretending, suppressing who you truly are, what you truly need, what you are truly about, what you truly believe in order to superficially look good. Yeah, it's, the 10th house is the highest, the midheaven. It's called the MC in your chart. You may see a little thing for the MC. It's the ruler of the 10th house, and that 10th house is your reputation, your career, your vocation, what you're doing out in the world. So it's how people see you. So Capricorn, Saturn in the 10th house also has to do with this persona of how people see me. It's my reputation. So the integrity comes in. This integrity, it's something that we learn. We become more truthful. We become more authentic. We cry at the office. Whatever, I mean, you don't have to cry at the office. It's probably like, the Cancers, the Leos, they have to cry at the office so that, they're authentic, because that's, that's their personal, they're going to bring their personal stuff, Cancer and Leo, my personal stuff, okay, into the office, the 10th house, that kind of thing. But we'll get into chart reading later. Yeah. So the other aspect to Capricorn, Saturn in the 10th house, lots of planets there. I talked a little bit about this suppressing in order to do the duty and the responsibility. And the downside of suppression, yes, I mean, we all suppress something at some point, I do imagine, except maybe the highest masters and ascended gurus. But suppression, just think of it, you sit on one of those cushions, I forget what they're called, but, you suppress, you hold something in, you hold it down. Well, quite simply, let's look at it, Saturn and Capricorn have to do with the anal sphincter muscle. It's the anus. Let's say you have to go to the bathroom, and there's no bathroom around. You're going to squeeze it. You're going to contract it. Saturn is contraction and concentration. I'm squeeze it. I'm going to hold it, hold it, hold it until I get to a bathroom, right? Well, you have a natural. Your body has this natural need, this natural instinct. All right, my stomach is full, my bowels are full. I've digested this. I need to go. And in nature, if we were wild animals, a deer or a monkey or something, a rabbit, and just plop it out. A bird. Thank God cows don't fly. Whatever. But we let it out. So we hold it in. Well, what happens then? You get indigestion. Okay, you get whatever we suppress, whatever we hold in. Okay, gets causes a backup. It causes challenges, okay, and it squeezes in this concentration, and it's unnatural. It becomes distorted. It becomes perverted. It wants to come out sideways. Okay, it wants to wants to squeak out there or something, right? So it does. If we're not going to let it out naturally and flow with the time and the natural instinctive forces, and we're going to control it and suppress it and concentrate it, and it gets weird. So the Marquis de Sade, yeah, we think of, sadism. We think of, perversion. We think of distortion. And this falls under Saturn, Capricorn, 10th house stuff. The weird, kinky, strange, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hydes. Yes, I am Dr. Jekyll. Yes, I'm a very good Capricorn, and I'm a doctor, and I'm very respectable, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah? I mean, it's a perfect thing. And then, boom, when nobody's looking, I am Mr. Hyde. This is the downside expression of Capricorn. Last but not least, suppression leads to distortion, and distortion leads to anger. Yeah. What is, anger is, all right, the volcano wanted to blow and it, something stopped it, something, held it back, held it in, and the pressure builds and the tension builds and the anger builds. This isn't comfortable. The longer you got to go to the bathroom and there's no bathroom, the more uncomfortable it gets. And that tension and that anxiety, it builds up and it's like, God damn, I'm going to explode. And then finally, anyway, we don't need to get too graphic here, but the idea is that there is emotions associated with suppression that form anger, which can lead to violence, aggressive acts. It can stew around and, and just, explode, has different ways, of coming out depending on where your Mars is, what sign your Mars is in. Yeah. Mars in water is going to, just be, I'm going to get you. And water never forgets, right? It's going to be like this emotional thing. Mars in fire is, you asshole. And then it's gone. It's like a match, you strike the match, whoosh, and then boom, it's out. That's Mars in fire, gone, baby. Maybe a little different in Leo because it's fixed fire, but nonetheless, you get into Earth, boom. You get your anger, you get your Mars in Taurus, Mars in Capricorn, bam, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna lay one on you. I don't like it. It's gonna be very physical. Yeah. I'm not giving you one more dime. Oh God. What did I miss? Air? Oh yeah, Mars in air, I'm gonna yell at you and yell at you and yell at you until you can't take one more word, and I'm gonna. And then I'm going to tell all your friends that you're an asshole. Whatever. Oh, how did I get off on that? Yeah, so anger. So there is this association then with suppression, with anger, particularly Saturn, Mars contacts, Mars in the 10th house, Saturn aspecting Mars, Saturn in the 1st house, frustration. When you think of any other aspects associated with Capricorn. Yeah. Thank you very much. Reflection. Saturn maturing, growing, becoming more objective, growing up has to do with reflection. And it's it's like the Hermit card, in the Tarot. I'm going to reflect, I'm going to look inward, I'm going to go down deep. So planets in Capricorn want to reflect. And through that process of reflection, they grow and they learn and they see new things. And they uncover everything that has been suppressed and denied and avoided. So, Capricorn is like the onion that needs to get peeled. Okay, when it comes into this aspect to Mars, 8th house, and sexuality, long, sustained intercourse. It's like peeling back the layers to get down to the essential core of the roots. There's been a lot of layers and so, the truth has been suppressed and buried. So this reflection, this going inward is all part of the Saturn process. And as I saw on the chat line, particularly in the Western civilizations, reflection is called depression. Yeah. Oh, you're depressed. Oh, don't miss work. Don't stay home from work. We need you to produce. The boss wants you. Society calls. You know, you're to take this pill so that you can go to work, so you don't have to think about or worry about or process all those emotions. Don't process those emotions. Screw those emotions, man. Have a beer, you know. Take some drugs. Have a drink. Show up at work. Get the job done. Don't let it get you down. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stigma, okay, around Saturn, around reflection, around, you know, and then this balancing this polarity between Capricorn and Cancer is a very, very tricky one. Yeah, and it's also having to do with family. Let's look at that Cancer Capricorn axis. Those external authorities. This is also dealing with father, dealing with mother, dealing with, you know, whoever gave you the rules or the laws to live by, whoever judged you when you were a kid and told you what was right or wrong and gave you some morals and some ethics. And this deals with bumping up, bumping into, and working with, and those limitations. It's the boss. It's the employer also. Any authority figures. It can be your guru. You're bumping up against the limitations that guru laid on you. Yeah? So, you know, we're always dealing with these limitations. And they force us to reflect. And that reflection brings us deeper into Cancer. It brings us into our personal truth, our personal reality, our personal emotional, you know, sense of security and self. And that fourth house, Cancer, is the foundation. So the reflection helps us to build a deeper foundation, to set our roots out farther so that we can grow taller, mature, and grow into Aquarius. Aquarius. Let's keep it moving here. Reflection, nice balance, thanks. The Emperor card in the Tarot. Yeah, well, the Emperor card in the Tarot is actually a lot to do with Aries. In fact, he's got the symbol of Aries on him. So the Emperor is kind of enforcing, you know, that Capricorn. But let's also look at, if you want to get into the Tarot, I see Capricorn as the Devil card. Yeah, it's the goat. And Capricorn is the sea goat. And that symbol is, you know, half dolphin or whale, you know, and half goat. From the depths of the ocean, climbing to the tops of the mountain. It's one of these dual signs. The other sign that, like I said, it has to do with maturity. Capricorn rising, Saturn in the first house, you know, that kind of stuff. The second half of life is much better. You can always tell your clients. All that Capricorn stuff, the older you get, the better it is. As a kid, you're too mature, you're too on top of it, you're too serious, you take on too much responsibility, you never had a childhood, blah, 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 blah. The older that you get, people start listening to you, they stop treating you like a little kid, that, you know, you get some authority, you get some power, and you're comfortable. It's like, oh, thank God, finally. You know, finally, instead of talking to people who are 20 years older than me, you know, everybody's kind of caught up to me a little bit or whatever, you know. But the Devil card in the Tarot, back to that, yeah. This final word on Capricorn is, like we said, it is material. It's an earth sign. It's physical. And, of course, the Devil card is materialism. Yeah? That this is all there is. Okay, that's the Satan tempting, you know, Christ, you know, over the cliff. I can give you all of this. Everything that you can see, that's tangible, that's physical, that's material, that's all there is. He who's ever got the most toys wins. There's nothing going on besides what you can see. That's the Devil card, yeah? There's nothing sacred. It's all just profane. It's all just visible there, right here. Boom. Yeah. So, that is that way that I see that association of, the devil card, Capricorn, and Saturn, because that can lead to acts of non-integrity. When it's not connected to something deeper, then it's just, I want your toys and your toys and your toys and your toys, and there is no, there's nothing, there's no life, God, source, creator going to give me any consequences or anything like that. So it leads to distorted behavior. So, yes, Jill does. The moon in Cap does have some emotional reactions to authority. Absolutely. And the matriarchal model. Yeah. We're going to get into a lot more of this stuff later. Mercury in Capricorn, you're a serious frickin' thinker. It's deep thinking, and it's very, it's very reflective and very serious, but also a very powerful authority in your speech and in your writing. So the Mercury in Capricorn, really looks at things. The danger with that is premature judging and locking into a particular thought pattern, and getting stubborn, getting an attitude, because you've locked into it. You're searching for security in some particular thought forms. Yeah, it's very good for writing contracts. I mean, it is. Mercury in Capricorn is when you do write contracts. Okay. So this Capricorn then is it's kind of a peak, right? That 10th house, you go from your ascendant down through the 4th house to the 7th house. We talked about the ascendant, 6 o'clock in the morning. You go down midnight, bottom of the chart, 4th house. Rise up, the descendant, other people, the west. You come back above the horizon, and you rise up to 12 o'clock noon. That's your Capricorn. That's your midheaven. That's the top of the heap. Transits, rise. Saturn will rise for 14 years from that 4th house up to the 10th house. And then what? Goes through that 10th house. Oh, it's beginning to decline. Yeah, it's beginning to break down, break away. Prepare for the next cycle. The sun, just think of the sunrise. The sunrise, yeah, it's a brand new day, yeah. And then it hits noon, and it starts to descend. And things start to, afternoon comes, you start to relax and let go. So we have these peaks. And that 10th house is then the peak of your influence in the outside world. The peak of your, interaction. And it's also, particularly then, the beginning. If you look at the 10th house is the first house of the 10th house. We'll get into house stepping when we get into houses. But it's the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of deconditioning. Yes, you have your reputation and you have your job and you have all of this, but by the time you get into Aquarius, okay, you are beginning to think about the next step, the next phase, the greater purpose, the future intention. What's going, okay, so I got a job as a bank teller. Well, let's see, how long is it going to take me to become the manager? How long is it going to take me to, become the, CEO? There's always the next, the next, the next. Aquarius is the next. It's the future. Some of that is the result of, the 10th house in Capricorn. But Aquarius is liberation. Freedom from the past. It has to do with rebellion, with revolution, but ideally, let's call it liberation. That sounds much better. And Jeffrey Wolf Green calls it freedom from the known. Saturn is the known. Capricorn, 10th house. This is, I am now the authority. I am now the boss. I am now in charge. I have grown. I am mature. I am the wise elder. What next? You step out into Aquarius. And I say Aquarius is outer space. You have two air signs, Gemini and Libra. And Aquarius is outer space. There's no air. They are out there. So you go beyond Saturn and you go beyond what's seen. You go beyond what you can control. You go beyond what's known. You need a telescope to see beyond Saturn. It's the last visible planet. So that Capricorn, Saturn, 10th house is, the last of, what we can control, what we can manage, what we can see with our ego. And we move into Aquarius, and it's, this outer space sign. It's extraterrestrial intelligence. It's genius. It's the nutty professor. It's the wacko. It's the science fiction novelist. It's the, I don't know if it's Harry Potter, but, there is a certain amount of magic there. But there's, magic is mastery over the laws of existence. Levitation, if you master the laws of gravity, you levitate, okay? And so that has a little more to do with Scorpio, sorry. But Aquarius is invention and innovation. It has to do with the future. It rules Uranus in the 11th house is Aquarius. It's the sixth eye. It's enlightenment. It's opening up to beyond, 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 beyond. Liberation and freedom from the known. It is all about science. And mostly, it's about non-attachment. Non-attachment. Okay? And this non-attachment is different than detachment. I'm going to quickly go into this one. I'm sure some of you, if you've been to my workshops, you've heard it, But I don't want to give the whole story. There's a whole story about non-attachment. But the idea here is that detachment is still got the polarity of attachment. Okay? I'm detaching from you or from this situation or whatever because I can't stand it. I'm bothered by it. It triggers me. I've got, I'm attached to something else, to something different that's, pulling me away from, from this situation. I'm attached to a belief, and you threaten the belief, so I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with this or that or the other thing because I'm attached to something else. So detachment is repulsion. Detachment is rejection. Detachment actually it acknowledges the existence of and actually gives power to the force or the other situation that we're rebelling against or revolting against or have issues with that we don't want to deal with. We're detaching from them. Whereas, so there is an attachment to a goal or to a result or to an agenda. Even if you're detached from something, it's the result of, that you hurt me. There's emotional pain or emotional trauma. I'm detaching. I detach from my body. Aquarius has to do with astral projection. Also has to do with trauma. Uranus, Aquarius, 11th house is trauma. We get into traumatic situations or relationships, and we leave our bodies. We leave planet Earth. We leave the uncomfort of this plane, and we go out there. So that is detachment. Let's say the higher vibration, I like that, way of putting it. The higher vibration of Aquarius is non-attachment. And non-attachment is, I'm not afraid of this, I don't have a goal or an agenda. I'm not threatened. I'm, I can now mess with it, and I can tinker with it, and I can experiment with it, and I can explore it, and I can get into it. So, you can use sex as an example. Aquarius is square Scorpio. It's square the 8th house. There's a very strong connection, okay, between Uranus, Aquarius, the 11th house, and sexual trauma and sexual abuse. Yeah? So, Uranus and Scorpio, Uranus in the 8th house, all that kind of thing, this all ties in. We'll see more when we get into chart reading. But, attachment versus detachment. Detachment is, ouch, I was hurt, I was abused, I'm detaching, I'm never going there again, I'm afraid of that, I'm not, versus non-attachment. Non-attachment is that I can be hurt or I could be abused, but I am going to continue to experiment and to explore. I'm not going to it's not having this grip on me. It's not having this control over me. I always use the example of the scientist. The scientist is in the chemist. I'm going to mix my arsenic, and I'm going to mix that, with a little bit of this, and boom, blows up the whole laboratory. Is the true scientist? In fact, they call it false science when they hire these laboratories to prove what they want them to prove. That's being attached to an outcome. Okay, we want to prove that cornflakes are good for you. So we're going to, set up our whole experiment, and give cornflakes to strong people and give, the other brand, to the weak people. And then it's going to prove that, whatever, it's like bullshit. But when you get into non-attachment, I'm not attached to proving this theory. I have a theory, but it's just a theory. And I can blow it up, and I can mess it up. And that's going to open me up to another theory or to another level of reality. So to be scientists, to be innovators, to be liberated, okay, is to move into this place of non-attachment that allows for exploration, and that exploration does not threaten our security or our identity or any other aspect of our life. So non-attachment, the whole Buddhist way, that's it's the middle way, is this very powerful path for very, very many people, and it is the path of Aquarius. It is that non-attachment. However, a lot of people mistake it. Like I say, they mistake non-attachment for detachment. Oh, I'm not supposed to, I'm a vegan, or I only do raw food, and I don't have any sex, and I renunciate. I don't do this. I'm not part of this world. That's detachment. Okay, non-attachment is I'm an omnivore. It's more Tao. The Tao is it's all God. Yeah, it's all good. So I would say the way of the Tao is even more Aquarian. It's like, yes, I can have sex, and yes, I can have banana splits, and I can have lots of money, but I'm not attached to it. I know I'm going to die. I know I'm an infinite spiritual being, and if somebody took all my money, or I never saw another banana split, or I never had another orgasm, I would not be totally, suicidal or whatever, it wouldn't tear me upside down, rip me a new, whatever, yeah. I can, and that allows me to, to experiment more, go deeper, learn more, know more, have more. And that then leads into invention, innovation. And when we come into Aquarius, 11th house, we're getting way out there. It's the opposite of Leo, the opposite of the king, the queen, the spotlight, the actor, the superstar. The superstar has a producer. The star has a director. And I don't care if you're Tom Cruise or Madonna or whoever you are. There's always a director. And as we are all human, we could say that this director may be non-physical. It may be life, creator, source, whatever you call it. But Aquarius is also this place, okay, of getting in touch with infinite intelligence. It's fixed air. It's like as high and deep, and it's like, yeah, that is the genius. And not only that, it is the least personal. No, Pisces is dreaming, Jill does. Moon in Aquarius. Moon in Aquarius is very emotionally detached very often. Has feelings of alienation, isolation, your past lives. You were the rebel or the revolutionary. Maybe you got locked up. Maybe you were the rebel. You were the Joan of Arc, the Martin Luther King, the Gandhi. You got shot, hung, burned at the stake. Moon in Aquarius is, sometimes born with post-traumatic stress. It's just like, whoa, yeah. But there's also super intelligence. There's also emotional intelligence. Moon is emotions. Aquarius is genius. So through that non-attachment, the moon in Aquarius is able to see and understand emotional dynamics in a therapeutic model, or working with groups especially. And I wanted to, that brings me down into groups, yeah, because Aquarius is globalization. I say it's the least personal. Leo is personal. Aquarius is global, big, wide, broad. It's community. It takes, what is it? It takes something to raise a kid. It takes a community to raise a kid. I don't know. I forget, something like that. But, it is about, it's friends, groups, organizations, corporations, multi-global, interests, multi-global, multinational. You can tell I've been talking too much. World community. Yeah, absolutely. So Aquarius, 11th house, Uranus, is always wanting to, it's inclusive, unity in diversity. So this is, an open door policy. Now it is very interesting. We have to look at, because Aquarius also, it rules astrology. Uranus in Aquarius, this is astrology. It's a science, that illuminates every aspect. It's very, it's about as far out there as you can get in terms of planets and stars and, galaxies, reflecting back. And a lot of it has been observation and correlation. So, I observe Mars moving through Scorpio, and, the king starts a battle. So I'm going to write this down. You do that for thousands of years, and and that's how they came up with a lot of these, interpretations. But astrology is also evolving. We can also talk about this age of Aquarius. How much time we got? Okay. But where was I? I was on this, idea, the situation that this globalization, this community, this unity in diversity, that it is, before they discovered Uranus, Aquarius was ruled by Saturn. So there are there's two types of Aquarians. And there's two kind of different ways of working. with Aquarius in the 11th house. The one side of Aquarius that's ruled by Saturn, say that moon in Aquarius, there's an aspect of Aquarius, I want to fit in. Peer pressure is really big. I want to be normal. I feel so weird, moon in Aquarius, Venus, Mars in Aquarius, Sun in Aquarius, South Node in Aquarius. I am such an alien. I feel so bizarre and unusual. I got Chiron in Aquarius, that's the wound. Okay, I am so weird. Nobody is ever going to like me or listen to me. I'm going to try to fit in. I'm going to hide my differentness. I used to be an electronics engineer, and I worked at this computer company. I had the short hair. I never said a word about astrology. Kept it completely different. I just want to fit into these, computer geeks, and, not get into the spiritual woo-woo stuff. Aquarius can be very like, boom. It's the astronomy sometimes versus the astrology. And we know the astronomers don't really talk to the astrologers very often. So there's science as we know it in the 21st century, okay? And then there's pseudoscience. There's psychology, and then there's parapsychology. This is like the Saturn and Uranus side of Aquarius. But what eventually happens, the evolutionary process of Aquarius is, I try to fit in. I try to find my tribe. I try to find my group. I think I'll be a punk rocker. I'm going to dress like them. I'm going to walk like them. I'm going to talk like them. Oh, yeah. Until I'm a punk rocker for about 5 years, and it's like, you know what? The more I listen to the lyrics and the more I hang around with these people, they're a bunch of idiots. I think I'm going to go for classical. I pick up the violin, I start playing the violin, you jump. So Aquarius will, they want to belong, so they'll belong to the, the Republicans, and they'll belong to the, the Masonic temple, and then they'll belong to the, to the Greenpeace, and they'll get this whole identity thing happening, with this group until their genius, their smarts, they just like, they come to a point, and it even can be traumatic, where they get kicked out of the church. You know what? You're a heretic. You're a rebel. You're not one of us. What, but one way, shape, or form, they rebel or they get exiled, but they don't fit in because it's not them. So ultimately, Aquarius will jump around until, I like Jeffrey Wolf Green's, they become a group of one. It's the process of individuation that Carl Jung speaks about, where we tap into our unique. Uranus is your personal unconscious. I tap into my unique stamp. And that, that is the complement of Leo. So I liberate out of all these, and then I belong to every group. I fit in whether I move to Thailand or France or Bali, or I just, I am an Aquarian. Okay, I'm a global citizen. I'm a human being. I don't have all these, these walls and these blocks. I am liberated. That's Aquarius. That's Uranus. That's the 11th house. And we can just touch a little bit on the age of Aquarius, because this is where we're going. I started with Pisces. We're going to end with Pisces, but look, we talked about Pisces. It's seclusion, isolation, the monastery, the ashram. You get pulled out into the secret mystery schools, and you have to have a teacher, a rabbi, a priest, an intermediary that teaches you and tells you all the little secrets. And it's not in the everyday world. We're going to bring you up to the mountaintop. We're going to pull you out of society. You are not going to live a normal life. You're going to be spiritual. That was the past way. And it was led by Christ, a martyr. No ego. No self. Okay? You know, what's the Da Vinci Code? You know, the guy whipping himself. You know, I mean, it got extreme in some cases. You know, I'm going to absolutely torture myself. I'm going to sit in sackcloth and ashes. Yeah, flagellation. Yeah, you know, that's the worst side of Pisces. Okay, you know, it's sadomasochism. We're coming out of Pisces. This age of Pisces, 2,000 years of having to be sequestered, isolated, separate. You can't be spiritual and have money. You know, there's this separation going on between Pisces and Virgo, between spirit and earth, Virgo and earth sign. Now we're coming into Aquarius through non-attachment, through intelligence. So it's about science. It's about technology. It's about genetic engineering. We are becoming mini gods and goddesses. So it's got that Saturn quality of responsibility, but it's also got that Uranian quality of, okay, you know what, we can, you know, whether it's extraterrestrial technology that's going to save the frickin' planet, you know, or whether it's just us becoming aware of the global community. You know, and that when I flush my toilet, you know, that some of my shit is going over to Japan or something. You know, there's a fact that, you know, the planet is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And we're seeing the effects of the cutting down of the rainforest, you know, creating situations up in the Antarctic, you know, and Arctic regions or whatever, you know. So, you know, the quality, Aquarius is the atmosphere. It is the air. Global warming. Hello, this is an Aquarian phenomenon, okay? And it's bringing up so much awareness of everyone's effect on everybody else. This is Aquarius. And it's, you know, the global warming, I also want to say, the atmosphere is a direct reflection of our human consciousness, the collective consciousness. And as we get more stressed, as we have more anxiety, we will find more intense atmospheric conditions and pressure, high pressure and low pressure systems becoming more extreme as our consciousness, our collective consciousness, grows more intense and more extreme. Yeah. So this coming anyway, what I see, this coming out of this Pisces is coming out of the dream, out of the water, out of believing, hoping, wishing for salvation, coming into this Aquarius, which is, okay, we need to use the science, we need to use the technology, we need to open up our third eye, we need to use our intelligence and just solve problems, create, invent, innovate new solutions to old problems, and take it on ourselves. So it involves revolution, rebelling against, you know, the old structures. So if you've got a strong Aquarian chart, and let's say you're an Aquarian rising, you're learning how to rebel. You're learning how to be kinky, weird, how to be funny, how to trigger people, how to push people's buttons, how to raise people's eyebrows, drop people's jaws, freak them out, show them something new, show them something different. You're needing to individuate. That's Aquarius rising. Yeah? Moon in Aquarius, you know, you don't worry about it. You know, you don't have to worry about you being different. You know you're different. Nobody has to tell you you're different. You know, Venus and Mars and Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius. Yeah. Yikes, who was that? Anyway, look out, world for. Let's see here. We got a wild one here. Is this true? Christina, you've got Mars, Venus, and Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius in the 11th house. All right, you know, it's like knock 'em dead. Okay? You know, if that's not like a Joan of Arc, then nothing is, right? You know, you are the future. Yeah, so it's, you know, it's just like, you know, absolutely being, you know, seen and open and true and stepping into that role. I mean, Black Moon Lilith, I don't know if you listened to Black Moon Lilith or been at my workshops, but, you know, Black Moon Lilith is where we can reject ourselves. It's our deepest truth that we have rejected. I'm sorry. You know, so Black Moon Lilith says that in your deepest truth, you are an Aquarius. You are you know, you are from the future. You're a time traveler. Okay, you're a prophet. And no, 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 no. That's not okay. Mom and Dad don't want a prophet. You know, the school system does not want a prophet. I'm sorry, we don't want your prophet here. You know, knock it off, fit in, you know, stop dressing weird, stop looking weird, stop saying weird things. So Black Moon Lilith, you know, is this, in Aquarius, okay, is this, you know, fear of, you know, really getting the funky tattoos, getting the nose pierced, you know, I mean, looking weird, being different, being ahead of the game, being the rebel, and yet that is the calling. Ultimately, as life evolves, as you come to accept yourself and love yourself unconditionally, then Black Moon Lilith becomes your ally. It becomes your strongest area of functioning, and you become the champion. Lilith is where you can be the champion. So you become a champion of Aquarius. Unity and diversity. I am different, you are different, there's no such thing as normal. Everyone has a right to be different, and I'm here to create a system, a social order, a planet where everybody can be different and still love each other and still live together and not be killing each other. So that's your Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius, right? And of course you got Venus and Mars there, so it's all going on, and it of course brings in relationships, sexuality, new forms, you know, of relationship. Aquarius is group sex, obviously. Not that you, just because you, I mean, yeah, here's another thing. I don't want to do a certain disclaimer here. Let's not take single phrases out of context, okay, and say, oh, this is the way it is. That would be the total downfall of Aquarius. It is fixed air. Oh yeah, let's get into the shadow of Aquarius. We got 8 minutes. Arrogance. The nose in the frickin' air, baby. Yeah? I am non-attached. I'm up here in the tower. I'm in my helicopter. You peons. You ignorant, slow. I am so intelligent. I am such a genius. Yeah, and you guys are so ignorant and so small and so dumb. You're like a bunch of ants in an anthill. That's the downside of Aquarius. And then, of course, the fixed idea is the fixed notion. Yeah, I know the way it is. I saw this, and you know, I've traveled all over the world, and that's all there is to it. I've seen it done, been there, done that, have it down, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's like there's no feeling, there's no heart, there's no love in the know-it-all. The downside of Aquarius, I would describe it as a head on a stick. Don't be a head on a stick. Be a human being. Leo rules the heart. Yeah? So the polarity of Aquarius that we really want to balance is the head and the heart. We want to get our genius going. We want to open our third eye. And, you know, the scientists are now saying that the magnetic field of the heart is even stronger and bigger than the magnetic field of the brain. So start thinking with your heart. And you are balancing the Aquarius-Leo axis. So, okay, so we have 5 minutes left in our webinar today, and I can take some questions, or let's just see if there's any announcements that we need to make. So next week we're going to get into the planets. I'm going to start with Pluto, and we're going to go through all of these planets. I only left 2 webinars. We'll see if we can squeeze all the planets into 2 webinars. I do encourage you to read those books like I've mentioned, okay? And what if you have no planets in a house or a sign, okay? If you have no planets in a house or a sign, I'll get into that with the houses when I do the houses. If you don't have, say I have no planets in Aquarius, right? What you want to do is your focal point, you still have a planet Uranus, and you still have Aquarius ruling a house. So it's like you still have stuff going on in that house, transits through that house, your planet Uranus, and of course Uranus comes around and transits by and passes over all of your planets. You may have planets in Taurus, but they're in the 11th house of Aquarius. So the archetype of Aquarius, of liberation, freedom from the known, of enlightenment, of genius, we've all got that going on somewhere in our chart. Yeah? And if it's not, just because you don't have planets in Aquarius, you will still have a planet Uranus. And like I say, it's still active. We are all 12 signs. The signs that you have your planets in, you are more aware of, you are more interactive, because planets are psycho-spiritual functions. So I am functioning through this sign, because I've got a planet in this sign. So, my sole purpose, my sole intention, why I'm here, is to be channeling through this particular sign. I may be using Aquarius. I got a whole bunch of stuff in Leo. All I've got is Chiron in Aquarius. But, so I may take all that stuff from Aquarius. Okay, let's say I don't have any planets in Aries. But I'm taking all of that Aries and I'm channeling it through the planets that I have in Leo. So, your planets are like like I say, they're the lights that are shining on the stage. So it's all coming through the planets, but all of the signs, all of these constellations, all of these mystery schools are all aspects of our consciousness that are just coming through those planets and the signs that those planets are in. Yeah? All right. We did it. We successfully managed to go through all 12 mystery schools. I want to thank you guys for hanging in there, for going for it. We're going to do the planets. We're going to keep going with this, and we're going to just learn our astrology, which is opening up to ourselves, our futures, God, our relationships. Maybe I'll do another webinar on synastry and relationship and composite charts, and just so I mean, there's just no end to how you can use all of this information. It's just totally awesome. And I thank you very much. Again, email me with webinar in the subject line, asking questions. I'm taking all these questions in, and I will try to incorporate them into future webinars so that all of your questions are answered. Oh, goodness. All right, question. Does Black Moon Lilith always travel close to the sun sign? Absolutely not. Black Moon Lilith has a 9-year cycle. So you can have it in any aspect to the sun. All right. Thank you. Love you. And look forward to connecting with you. Yeah.